YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with some running back rankings for the 2019 NFL Draft. Going through all the positions. Did quarterbacks already, so running backs is the second video. We're going to get through these, some final mocks, some live streams before the draft, and then during the draft, we will be live. It starts April 25th. We're going to be live 30 minutes before the draft starts, and then during the draft right here on YouTube, of course. Talking about predictions, when teams are on the clock, and reactions. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's my favorite day of the year. And our subscriber goal is 20K. Please help us get there by clicking that subscribe button, like button, notification button. Much appreciated. Updates, day 3 coverage of the draft on our Twitter, right down there in the bottom right, link in the description as well. Right before I get started with these running back rankings, yeah, mine are a little different than I think the consensus, but, running backs in the past kind of been what I hit on the most. I think I hit on pretty much all the positions, but running backs I feel pretty good about every year. These ones, I can tell obviously whether they're going to be good or not in my opinion, but it's tough to rank, split them up. You're basically splitting hairs with a lot of these. So I would recommend everybody would listen to each guy when I get to each prospect, because I might say this guy would be a top 3, for example, if, there's a lot of guys like that in this class. So I'd recommend everybody listening one by one here, so I'd really appreciate that. So running back 1, like I said, I'm a little different than everybody, but not really here. I like Josh Jacobs from Alabama, and he really doesn't have that much. He wasn't used all that much in his career, and that's really a good thing. Sometimes it's not that great because you don't get enough chances to see, or you don't get enough chances to see him against like good competition, but with Josh Jacobs you do. He really can do it all. My grade's a first round. It is kind of borderline first and second. Really, if you had to point out negatives, I guess you would like for him to have more long speed, but I don't know if he was apparently running the 40s around 4.6s. On the field he looks a little faster than that, so not super worried about that. You would like the 4.6s kind of start to rub you a little the wrong way a little bit. I'm not too worried though. The thing that stands out to me, because the way he's built is more of the strength style running back, short yardage running back in between the tackles, but he really can do it all. You can throw him a swing pass there. You can you see him cutting downfield, juking people out, and then he runs people over, which you expect. So he really does it all, and it's a weaker running back class because the elite talent on top. I only have one first-round guy right here, and I only have one second-round graded guy. So, but after that, it's pretty deep. There's nobody elite, but it is really deep. There's going to be guys ranked in the teens for me that are pretty good. So, but I do like Josh Jacobs at number 1. Not a whole bunch of negatives, a lot of upside there. My number 2 is Darryl Henderson from Memphis, and he's my only second-round grade running back. And the thing with him is that he really doesn't have any weaknesses too. I can point out some weaknesses, but they're not real weaknesses. But to start on the positives, when I look at running backs, how I always did it, it's before the line of scrimmage first. You have to judge them, how they play, how they react until they get to the line of scrimmage. What comes after is a bonus. All these running backs that come in the draft, all the ones that can play, they all can run. We know they can run, whether they have speed, strength, whatever it is. But the ones that don't really make it aren't the ones that see the hole or hit the hole as quick. So really my number 1 trait is vision and quickness to go along with that. And then everything else is bonuses, and there's some darn good bonuses in this class, but Darryl Henderson has the vision and the quickness. He has one of the best 10-yard splits in NFL history, combine history, so that kind of backs up the quickness. But he has the vision. He knows how to hit the hole. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Excellent after the line of scrimmage, juking, cutting, just opening up, running in the open lane, finding the right lane downfield. But again, I keep going back to it, but it starts with the vision and the quickness to hit that hole. There's a bunch of guys that can hit the hole in the NFL. There's some guys that are much faster than them, but if they bounce around and can't really hit the hole, whether it's there or not, I really think there's always somewhere. There's always a seam to go. So Henderson really has all that. The negatives, he's 5'8". You see the height and weight there. I'm okay with that. It's a small negative for me. He's 5'8". You could argue that the running backs that don't have a bunch of room to tackle them are better. And in this case, the 5'8" guy, you would like for them to be 5'10", 5'11", sure. Not too big of a weakness. Sometimes he runs straight up. It really hasn't hurt him that much because he's 5'8". He can afford to do that. So another small negative, really splitting hairs. I'm going to say that a lot because that's what I have to do with some of these running backs. And then the other one is maybe he's a system guy because that Memphis team, the Memphis system, there was some pretty wide open holes in whatever running back they put in there. They used 3 different running backs. They kind of went off. But as you break down and see the traits that he has, Darryl Henderson, and that's really not his fault that, that the holes are opening up and the other running backs are doing well. That's not his fault. So it's not really a real weakness. He can play. He's my only second-round grade guy. He's a home run hitter. That's the best way to define him. Number 3 is where I start surprising, I'm guessing, a lot of people. I feel like everybody has the same rankings. I feel like some people just don't really watch. I don't know. But there is a pretty good gap after these top 2. And I'm going to get to guys that would be battling for the top 3 spots when we get to them. But there's a big if in why I don't have them up here. But number 3 is actually Trayvon Williams from Texas A&M, 5'8", 206. So 2 pounds difference from Darryl Henderson. And the funny thing is, he's very, very similar to Darryl Henderson. But why did I say there was a big gap between Henderson and Williams, 2 and 3? It's because really after the line of scrimmage, and then before it, Darryl Henderson a little quicker to the hole, but Trayvon Williams can read that hole, get to it. But after the line of scrimmage, Trayvon Williams is also a home run hitter, but Darryl Henderson a little smarter. He's a little smarter to avoid the defenders downfield, and he has much better cuts. Trayvon Williams can cut. It's more of a turn and go the other way, and it works for him, though. But he hits the hole. He has speed. He has strength. I'm just looking for guys that can play every down, and even though he's 5'8", maybe teams don't think the 5'8" guys can play. It's a load of BS to me, though, but some teams will probably scratch him off because the old-school guys kind of think like that. But Trayvon Williams, a home run hitter. He can play. He played against top competition. Even though if you go watch the Alabama game, if you look at the stats, he didn't get a lot of yards, but it was just fine to me. He's fine. The small hole there is, I think he had a pretty solid game, minus the actual stats. So some people just look at the stats too much. So he is 3, but I'll tell you what, 3 through the next 10 maybe, very, very tight. Like I said, it was hard to rank these guys. I pretty much had to just rank by the traits. The negatives. So my top 2 are clear. I've switched back and forth. If anybody has my position rankings, I let those out to some people at one point, but everybody will get them. Once these position rankings are out, we'll have links, so don't worry about that. But 3 through the next, several, I've switched up big time. So they're very close, and we'll see by my grade there. Round 3 is the grade for my 3rd overall running back. Number 4 is David Montgomery, who also has a round 3 grade. I had him at 2 for a majority of this. And he's 5'10", 222, as you can see up there. So good size running back. But what's really scaring me a little bit is the lack of bursts. And it kind of showed up at the combine too. Bad combine numbers. The vertical really gets to me. I know I shouldn't look too much into that. I never really do, but it kind of shows up on the field. He can break tackles he broke a lot of tackles, but against the weaker tackling Big 12 defenses, he has the vision. He can hit the hole. He doesn't hit it super fast. He can play every down, and that's what keeps him in the top 5. I'm worried about the burst after the line of scrimmage, even getting through the hole. I'm worried about some explosion at the next level. He has some here against, like I said, weaker Big 12 defenses. He can catch the ball. He can juke too. It's just not all that super flashy, His flashiest moments are when he's running somebody over. But he still earns a spot in the top 5 because he's an every down back. He can get, if you need that yard, if you're 4th and 1, he can get you that yard. So 4 is pretty good. But I think people maybe expect him a little higher. And I do have a round 3 grade on him, which I did Trayvon Williams. Like I said, these guys are close. And my number 5 is Dexter Williams from Notre Dame. 3rd round grade for him as well. 5'11", 212. That's a perfect size for a running back. He ran the 4.5s in his 40. That's still fast, but on tape he looks much, much faster. So you'd rather be faster on the tape than at the combine, but I still think he tested very well at the combine. Maybe the best vision in the class. Some of these guys with the vision, sometimes it doesn't translate because maybe you just trust your offensive line and maybe you won't have the trust in the offensive line at the next level. But he hits the holes, at like the second they start opening up, he cuts and hits that hole. And that's why we've seen him. He was a big home run hitter as well. And he had big long runs and he was a game changer. He's a big reason, maybe the biggest reason Notre Dame got where they got to. So, and he can slip tackles. why, all that I'm explaining, it sounds like maybe I should have him in the top 3. But we're looking for guys that, it's number one, I want him to be a running back, and that's what he is. But more and more in today's NFL, we're looking at guys that catch the ball, and he's had some drops. He isn't the flashiest guy catching the ball, too. He can do it, but that's really what separates the other guys. But I do like Dexter Williams, home run hitter, and he's got a good size at the same time. So I do like Dexter Williams, but there's some guys coming up after him that are very tight. I've switched these guys around. Let me get to them. I got more surprises, I'm sure, coming, but I'm going to explain myself. And I know my running backs, so it really what it comes down to is if the guys get the chance or not. But most of the time, the better guys will get the chance. But you never know if a guy's going to get thrown in as a third string, goes to a good team. So next group of guys, though, and I'll explain myself. I got Alexander Madison at number 6, one of my guys at the draft, it turns out. I almost want to put him in the top 5 because I love his game so much. But the reason he's not in the top 5 is I do worry about a little bit, outside the tackles, him bouncing out, running outside at the next level. He can do it, just nowhere near as good as the other guys. But the reason he's number 6 on my rankings, and I think he could be a third-round guy, I have like a third, fourth borderline there, is because he hits the hole hard, he hits it fast, he has the vision, and he breaks a lot of tackles, and he's very athletic. You've seen him hurdle guys like crazy. He didn't have a great 40 at the combine, but then he had the pro day, and he ran a 4.52. This guy's built like he's not as tall, but he's built, and the running style is somewhat similar to Derrick Henry from the Titans. He's not going to break as many tackles as Derrick Henry, but that's the way he's built, and he still ran a 4.52. That's 4.5s is flying. People start to, look for the 4.4s, but 4.52 is flying, especially when a guy's this size. He's just under 6 foot, so he's not quite the height of Derrick Henry, obviously, who's an absolute freak and probably should be one of the better running backs in football if he got more touches. I think he will this year. Off topic, though. Madison reminds me a little bit of him. The way he moves when he hurdles, maybe, it looks like Le'Veon Bell a little bit, but does need to catch the ball much better out of the backfield. Number 7 is Miles Sanders. Maybe this is where I'm surprising a lot of people. Pretty much one person said Miles Sanders right off the combine. Probably was Daniel Jeremiah. I don't know who came first. And then everybody's following that Miles Sanders is the second best running back or third, whatever. And really, when he has the ball and he's working his way through the hole and downfield, he looks like a top 3 running back. But a big problem for me is he had 5 fumbles this year. Obviously Saquon was there before, so first year he's starting, 5 fumbles. Now, if you're a big NFL fan, fumbles are costly. You think about the games this year, there's really not a whole lot of ass beatings these days. Here and there, it happens. And just think about your running back. It hasn't really haven't been a lot of fumbles by running backs, but think about your running back putting the ball on the ground, the other team getting it in a game this past year. Just think about it. It's costly. That could be 5 losses right there. Most likely not 5, but it could be 3 losses. It really could be up there. So, and if he played a full season last year and he had like 2 fumbles or 1, we'll say 1 or 0, he would be much higher than 7. But since he had the 1 year with the 5 fumbles, it scares me that could, honestly, it could be 5 games. It could be 5 games in today's NFL. So that's why it's tough. His running style is good. I think he's pretty similar to Dexter Williams with his running style and how he hits the hole. I think Dexter Williams a little better vision. Miles Sanders is going to break a little more tackles. Struggle against Michigan. The holes weren't quite there, but there was spaces where he could have went a little bit too much bouncing around. So as soon as he plays that top tier defensive line, a little bit of struggle. So, but again, if it wasn't for the fumbles, he would be number 3 for me. I'm set on my Josh Jacobs and Darryl Henderson. There's some other guys that are coming up that may be higher than 1 or 2 of those guys, but there's a big if, like I said. But the fumble scares me. The fumbles scare me. And number 8's Elijah Holyfield. I watched the tape and I love his tape. Just as much as anybody in this class. But what scares me is that 40. But I think because of the 40, people have him lower than 8, ranked worse than 8. So I think I'm still high on him, and I'm trusting more the tape. It looked like to me that he was trying to run a specific way, using a specific technique in the combine. He's definitely not the same with how he ran with the ball. So that actually could be a great thing because as soon as he gets the ball, it's a different guy. He doesn't really think. He just goes. But maybe he worked out a certain way, and that's just how he runs now. So there's a little risk there. But he can play. He can hit the hole. He can run people over. He can juke. He can find the end zone. And, maybe you want him to catch the ball a little more, but I like Elijah Holyfield. The speed scares me. That's why he's down here. Justice Hill's number 9 from Oklahoma State. This is a guy that I want to have higher. Why? Because he's athletic in every category. He can run. He can cut. But why is he down here? It's really the NFL's fault. I'm going to blame the NFL on this one, but it's because I think the NFL will, view him as, we'll give him the ball a couple times a game. We'll throw him the ball maybe once or twice a game. He can catch. He can run. We're not going to use him in between the tackles, So I think that's why he goes down. I'm kind of hurting myself if I put him higher because I don't know if he'll get the chance. But at the same time, he does have his negatives. I don't think he's better, similar style to Darryl Henderson. In no way is he better than Darryl Henderson at the same level because, he wants to bounce everything outside. He wants to cut everything outside. He doesn't want to stay in the middle of the field. And he did get hurt last year. So those are some negatives. So I want to put him a little higher, not too much higher. So hopefully nobody takes that the wrong way. But again, I don't know if he'll be a 3-down back. I don't know if he'll be used in between the tackles, but he's flashy. He can fly. I do like him, even though he's at number 9. Number 10, Damien Harris. I guess I'm just not as high on Damien Harris as everyone else. He does everything at a solid level. He just doesn't do it for me. He's not flashy enough. He'll break a tackle. He'll hit the hole. There's definitely guys that can hit the hole faster, but he can find the hole, hit the hole on a great Alabama team. It just, to me, is if you put some of these guys ahead of him, I have ahead of him on that Alabama team, I think they would do better. I honestly think that. So, he can catch the ball too. Like I said, you're going to get a solid running back. That's for sure. It's a darn good number 10. Like I said, the depth in the running back class is there. It's just not super flashy for NFL level. It's a different level, but again, a good running back. Next group of guys, got a lot of running backs to get to. Number 11, one of my guys because no one is talking about him. It's Darren Hall from Pittsburgh. Not talked about enough. He can play. And Pittsburgh didn't use him enough, and he still ran for a whole bunch of yards. He can play. He can hit the hole. He's got good size. His running style reminds me of DeMarco Murray a little bit. Can catch the ball if you need him to. And once he's past the line of scrimmage, I guess that's where he can work on maybe some cuts. Sometimes he tries to run people over, but he can move, he can cut. But I just like the explosiveness, the way he hits the hole, and his pro day for a big guy like this, strong guy like this. He ran a 4.44. So that's pretty impressive. And he's at 11. I think I have him higher than pretty much anybody. So I guess you can say Darren Hall's my guy from Pittsburgh. They got 2 running backs in the class. Definitely Darren Hall's the better one. Number 12 is Benny Snell, another guy that I want to like more because he pretty much does everything right. Hits the hole. He definitely could hit it faster, but he hits the hole. He's smart. He has the vision. He can cut. He can spin. He can hurdle. It's that long speed is just really getting to me. I want to put him higher, but that long speed. There's just other guys that can hit the hole a little quicker. And they definitely have way more speed. I think it was a 4.66 at the combine. That definitely showed up on tape. But he's had some good moments, and there was a lot of wildcat. Some good moments with that. What do you make of that? Not too much different, but a little different than getting the ball out of the backfield. Another shocker here is Devin Singletary at 13. I'm not super high on him. After the line of scrimmage, maybe one of the better backs in football. Cuts, one of the better in the draft. Cuts, maybe the best in the draft. It's before the line of scrimmage what gets me. There's people out there that said he has the vision too. I'm not seeing the vision. Once he gets the ball in the backfield, he stutters. He bounces too much. He does not want to hit the hole, and he wants to bounce everything outside too. Before line of scrimmage and after, it works out for him a lot of time after. Maybe that's because the talent he's playing against. But it seems like when he bounces everything out, it seems like he goes left a lot to me. It seems like he wants to go out there every time he cuts there. Even if he ends up going right because it's open, he'll bounce to the left and he'll go to the right. So it's almost like he should be a slot receiver, but he doesn't have the best hands because once he has the ball past the line of scrimmage, he's great, but he doesn't have the best hands for that. He's not really built for that either. So it's tough because he's so flashy, and I think the people that really like him are just really watching the highlights and not focusing on before the line of scrimmage. He darn well could be good. I talked about him going to the Rams, possibly a team like that. If he ends up going there, he's going to be fine. Like, he's going to be a playmaker. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. He just has a lot to work on before hitting the line of scrimmage, before hitting the hole. He needs to get there. 14 is Devine Ozigbo from Nebraska. And this is a darn good number 14. This comes back into play that the depth is fantastic. Ozigbo, very strong, hits the hole. Again, there's guys that hit the hole a little faster, but he sees the hole, he hits the hole. Again, he's another guy that kind of, for a strong guy that can slip some tackles, run somebody over sometimes, he's another guy that kind of wants to bounce it out. Seen him bounce it out right a lot, but I don't really put it on him too much because a lot of times it was wide open out there, so he should have bounced it out. But I would like to see more, of him running in between the tackles, which he'll be asked to do. He'll be a good short yardage guy, and he actually stepped up catching the ball out of the backfield this last year, so improvement shown. So Zigbo could be a guy with a lot of potential here. Number 15 is a big if guy, is Jordan Scarlett. Easily a top 10 running back, maybe even top 5. In trouble off the field twice, marijuana once, and credit card theft the other time. So this is a guy that's looking for trouble. The reason I didn't drop him down more is because he's a very good running back, and because this past year, which I think is the most important, you got to combine them all, and they all matter much, but the most important year, he actually stayed out of trouble. So I don't really know what to make of it, honestly, but strong running back, hits the hole super fast, finds it, and then after, he can fly too. He's a 4.4 guy, high 4.4s, and he's got the size, the strength to he broke a bunch of tackles. So I want to put Scarlett higher than 15, but I'm a little scared to draft this guy because he's looking for trouble, as the past shown, but not in 2018. So moving on, for the rest of these, I'll be using the Draft Network, where I'll put all my rankings in, and I'll get you guys a link. I'll put the link in the description for this so you guys can see all of them, but I'm going to show you the rest of them that I ranked right now, and I'm going to explain them. So we got 16, Mike Weber. A lot of people like Mike Weber. I like him too. He's quick. He can hit the hole. Just nothing super flashy after. For his size, you expect a little more cuts, a little, more flashiness after it, and he's kind of just splitting with other guys. I don't know, Ohio State couldn't really make up their mind on who's the best of the group. Ronnie Anderson's another big if guy. What if? Here's a guy that would be top 3, probably even he can battle Josh Jacobs for the top spot because he hits the hole. He's very strong, can slip tackles. His jukes, they're not the fastest, they're not the quickest, but he makes them work. He can catch the ball. Or did I mention he runs people over? I mean, he really does everything. Great vision throughout the whole field. He would be a top 3 back, but 2015 broke his leg. 2016 fractured vertebrae. And then 2017 was healthy and was excellent. 2018, torn ACL. I'm seeing some sort of pattern there. I hate to say it because he's an excellent running back, but this type of guy, I'm pretty scared to draft, but since he's so good, I may take a risk on him in round 5, we'll say. 18 is Tony Pollard. Doesn't have a lot of experience at running back, so that's where you drop him down a little bit. Was mainly a receiver, but that's the good thing. He can play receiver. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I do like him at running back because he has some strength. Super fast. This is an upside guy. You teach him the ways. You get him into an NFL program. This guy can be a big-time upside guy. I do like Tony Pollard, the lack of experience and the other talent. I got to drop him down a little bit. James Williams, 19. Similar to Pollard because he catches the ball very well out of the backfield, and it's tough to say. He catches the ball better than Pollard to me, but he's a little more polished in the route running. But we're talking about running backs here, so I think Pollard has a little more juice running the ball. Williams, he's kind of I don't know if he runs with enough power and speed. He can run, he can slip tackles, he can move, but it's just not enough of that. But he's good, and somebody's going to draft him, and I just think, I'm distracted at the moment, but James Williams is going to be a solid, we'll say 6th round guy because he's lacking the power and speed. He has some, but, he could use some more of it is what I'm getting to. Alex Barnes at 20, he has a lot of power. He can hit the hole too. Just not super flashy after. I do like Alex Barnes. This is a pretty good number 20. Again, going back to how deep the class is. I'm seeing him run some guys over, just, really no cuts there. Just not super flashy after besides running people. Bryce Love's 21, another guy that would probably be, just like Rodney Anderson, would be up there. He's like Darryl Henderson. He'd be right there with Darryl Henderson, but he's constantly hurt, and he has currently a torn ACL. He's constantly hurt, and he tries to play through. He's a tough kid. Can play every part of the running back position, if he could improve on something on the field, running in between the tackles, could gain a little more strength, but I'm just nitpicking here. He's a very good running back. He's just constantly hurt, constantly coming out of games. In the game, he'll be dominating the reason why they're in the game, and then he had to come out of the game. So, and that's playing against Pac-12 defenders too. So, I mean, it's going to be a tough task, for in the NFL. So I hate saying it for like guys like Ronnie Anderson and Bryce Love because I love their game so much, but that's where I got them, unfortunately. Would I draft him? At one point, I'm on record saying I wouldn't draft him because he's constantly hurt, but if he's sitting there, it depends on who's left. If he's sitting there down in the 6th round, maybe I'd consider it. 7th round, I probably would, honestly, because there's some upside, but maybe you'd rather get one of these guys that are even below him that we're about to go over here. But Raquel Armstead, who a lot of people like, I think I'm a little lower than everybody else, and he checks the boxes for me before the line of scrimmage. That's the most important spot for me. He has the vision. He hits the hole very quick. I've never seen so many a running back so many times run into tackles past the line of scrimmage. Not only will he run into tackles, he'll kind of turn his back a lot too, and I just don't like that. He, again, good vision, hits the hole, and he has speed too. We've seen him at the combine. He has the strength too to maybe break free some of these times, but he turns his back, and even when he doesn't turn his back, he's running into contact. He'll go away. He'll be in the lane for the end zone. He'll go away and go right into the running back. So if somebody can get into his head how to fix this, he can be a darn good back. But for now, I got to put him at 22. But you can see his potential, and he can work out. Darwin Thompson, another guy that everyone's losing their mind on all of a sudden. I think he's solid. It's just I don't know if he hits the hole. I think he should hit the hole quicker. Doesn't have the best vision. Sometimes bounces around too much. Doesn't have elite speed, which he should at his size. Does slip tackles, but only against the weaker competition. When he played better teams, not much going. So I'm not super eyeing him, but all these players can be good. Karen Higdon at 24, I think will be a good short yardage guy, but I'm not going to rank a guy high. That's really only going to be on 3rd down here, maybe the goal line. I think he'll be good at that. Not super flashy, kind of just gets the job done if you need a couple yards. So that's good. Again, good things there. I'm just not going to rank a guy super high that you were really not going to see that much. Myles Gaskin, 25, liked him a lot more last year. This year, he's had a lot of action, so I guess that's not really a good thing for running backs going forward. Most of his good moments are out of the Wildcat too, so it's just a traditional running back in the NFL. What could he do? It's not going to be a whole bunch. He's quick. He's not at all fast. He's not going to break a whole bunch of tackles. Kind of built like a nickel corner almost. So I like Gaskin's game. He was a big part of Washington. I liked him better last year a little bit, but there's a lot of signs that say, he's not going to be used that much. He's not going to be that dominant at all in the NFL, but he's a weapon at the same time. Wes Hills is 26. He's a strong guy. One of those big running backs that's going to break some tackles. He hits the hole pretty well too. Kind of just turns in the open field or just kind of keeps moving straight. Doesn't have a bunch of cuts or a bunch of speed. Sometimes he looks quicker than others. Sometimes he'll be slowing down big time where it's, almost looks like 4.7 speed. But a lot of upside here. We need to see him against better competition. And I think there's a gap right after Wes Hills. L.J. Scott, solid running back, just nothing super flashy, was injured too. Travis Homer, sometimes he's inconsistent too. Sometimes he'll have a wow moment, but then there's other times where it's just, he doesn't really want to take on some contact, can't really slip tackles. And there's the rest of my rankings there. Jalen Moore, I wish I could have saw more out of him. He missed some games and against better competition, not too much. Bruce Anderson, North Dakota State, guy's a sleeper. Kareth White Jr. from FAU is a sleeper. He's pretty good in the limited action he got, the backup of Devin Singletary. Olsen, like I mentioned, I think they used him too much. A bigger back. Darren Hall is much better. Ty Johnson, not a lot of experience, not a lot of reps, but very speedy. And then there's my last two guys, just not doing too much for them. These guys are kind of lacking the speed down there. Brosette and Patrick. This video went long enough. So let me know your guys' thoughts. Things, again, can change, but most likely will not much because the draft is on the way very soon. We'll be live during the draft, of course. Hopefully you can join us for that. Plenty more of these prospect rankings, final mock drafts to get to, some live streams before the live stream of the draft. So that's going to do it. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.